Did you know that your clock, MP3 player, computer, hairdryer, television, your cellular and cordless phone could be frying your brain? The image you see before you shows tissue heating effects on a 15-minute cell phone conversation viewed via thermography. After exposing your head to electromagnetic frequency, or EMF, of a cell phone for 15 minutes, the human head on the left shows significant and dangerous levels of heat radiation. Notice the orange, red, and pink colors. Most of the heat is generated in your ear canal, which is almost directly connected to your brain. After 15 minutes on a cell phone with our patented cell phone chip attached to it, the head on the right shows far less heat. In fact, the blue and green colors show cool, normal tissue. What are the chances that you made at least a 3-minute call on a cell phone in the past 24 hours? Did you know that your cordless home phone generates an EMF field more than twice the strength of your cell phone? There are more than 247 million cell phone users in the United States alone, and some of them have reported symptoms including facial heating, migraine headaches, fatigue, nausea, and loss of concentration. Of course, these symptoms don't even begin to touch on the other possible risks, including brain cancer, eye cancer, and cellular and DNA damage. The good news is that there is something you can do about the EMF problem. There is now a product that can mitigate the effects of harmful EMF radiation waves and also help the body cope with the stress of EMF exposure.
Brain tumours now claim more young lives than any other form of cancer. The tumour rate has increased by a staggering 21% in just a decade. One of our leading surgeons is worried about a link with the growing use of mobile phones and other electrical equipment. Charlie Teo is a preeminent neurosurgeon. He specialises in children's brains. And Charlie is at the cutting edge, literally, of a 21% increase in children's brain tumours.
I think that EMR, mobile phones and other electrical appliances may have something to do with the increased incidence that we're seeing.
What advice do you give your children?
Oh, Ray, this is a very sore point. My daughter just got a mobile phone, and I was so against it. It was a real sore point in the family.
How old is she, Charlie?
She's 12.
So she's in that vulnerable age.
Oh, very vulnerable. Her brain is still developing, and I'm really very upset that she's got one.
So mobile telephones or telephone wires or computers?
Absolutely. I mean, you're exposed to EMR, electromagnetic radiation, that you're not even aware of. The wires in the walls of your home emit EMR of a certain frequency that could be dangerous. The electrical appliances, not only computers, but all electrical appliances like electric blankets and bedside clocks, certainly mobile phones and certainly high tensile electrical wires.
And your belief is that children are more susceptible?
Yeah, that's my personal belief, that there may be an association between EMR exposure and the development of brain cancer.
Dr. Charlie Teo and the other scientists are not saying that mobile phones or electric wires or TV towers will kill you. They're not saying that yet. What they are saying is that some people, for some reason, are more susceptible than others, and that all children are at risk. There's now so much electromagnetic radiation in our daily lives that we just have to be careful, just in case somewhere down the track we discover that EMRs have in fact been killing us.
I don't think there are any guarantees. I don't think the industry can give a guarantee, and certainly our scientists are not prepared to do that.
Senator Lynn Allison spent a year listening to the scientists, trying to find out what the risks are. What she discovered is that there's good reason to worry.
We are a bit awash now in radio frequency and radio waves generally, and we're not altogether sure what effect that has on us.
Senator, were you surprised to learn that brain tumours have now taken over from leukemia as the biggest cause of death amongst children?
I think that's awful, but it's consistent with studies of in Europe and the UK, where there's been a 40% increase across the board of brain tumours over the last 20 years. Scientists say that the thickness of the skull in children makes a difference. It's quite thin compared with adults, that there is more brain fluid. The radio frequencies can travel through the brain more easily.
When patients come in with a brain cancer, I often say to them, you know, your cancer's on the right side of your brain, it's in the area just above your ear. Can you tell me if you feel that you've had more exposure than most people to mobile phones? And I am surprised that most people say, yes, you know, I've used my phone continuously for the last 7 years and it's always stuck to my ear on this side. Well, that's where the cancer is. This is unfortunately a very cruel disease that affects people at all age groups. I've done a baby, a one-day-old baby with a malignant brain tumour, and it's the greatest cancer killer in children, and that's why I think we really need to be aware of it and start putting some more effort into it.
We have nearly 22 million mobile phones in Australia. The World Health Organisation so concerned about the potential safety risks of mobile phones, it commissioned a 13-country survey years ago. We've done our own tests. Laura Sparks has the results.
I would not want to be a heavy user of a mobile phone.
For the first time tonight, one of our country's foremost experts on public health tells us what the world's biggest telephone companies don't want you to hear.
I think the evidence that is accumulating is pointing towards an effect of mobile phones on tumours.
And often the radiation at the body is higher than what you would experience at the head.
The results worrying even the government experts.
I think it's concerning that under any circumstances, testing would show that a phone does not meet the standard.
Professor Bruce Armstrong is Sydney University's Professor of Public Health. He's devoted more than 10 years of his life researching the link between mobile phones and brain tumours. He's always sat on the fence. That's until now.
I think people might be shocked to hear that the evidence does seem to be coming more strongly in support of harmful effects.
So what sort of harm are you talking about?
Well, by harmful I mean production of brain tumours, acoustic nerve tumours, possibly parotid gland tumours, because some of those tumours are certainly fatal.
So why are we only starting to hear about this now? Mobile phones have been here for 20 years. Today we're at saturation point. There's 20 million mobile phones here. That's enough for every Australian to own one. But as time passes, scientists are able to look at the longer-term side effects. We're now starting to hear about 10-year studies, and the results are worrying.
What was found there was evidence of a twofold increase in risk of tumours.
Professor Armstrong is so revered that he's been chosen to head the Australian arm of the World Health Organisation's 13-country mobile phone study, the biggest one yet ever undertaken. Yet the Australian Mobile Telecommunications Association choose not to listen. Their CEO, Chris Althouse.
I can tell you that the overwhelming body of research internationally says quite the opposite.
We've been encouraged to use a hands-free kit with our mobile phones for years to ward off potentially dangerous radiation. Now, with the advent of the Bluetooth, it's commonplace for phones to stay firmly in our pockets, far away from the brain, but close to other important organs. So how safe is this to have a phone transmitting from your chest or trouser pocket?
It's not always made clear that when you use a phone in your pocket, for example, that the radiation levels are much higher than they ought to be.
Chris Zombolis is the director of EMC Technology, the only independent lab in Australia that measures the safety of electromagnetic radiation coming out of mobile phones. He claims most phones pass our regulations when transmitting against our head, but questions the safety of them when emitting in your pocket.
The antenna is usually at the back of the phone, so when it's used at the head, most of the energy is transmitted away from the phone towards the base station. However, if it's used in the pocket, say with a Bluetooth hands-free adapter, the antenna ends up closest to the body and most of the energy is absorbed by the body rather than going to the mobile phone tower.